The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of the International Space Station. Captain James Reed floated in the observation module, sipping his morning coffee from a specialized container. His daily ritual involved watching Earth rotate beneath him while reviewing overnight reports. Today, however, something unusual caught his eye. A glint of light near lunar orbit, something that shouldn't be there. Reed blinked, assuming it was space debris, or perhaps a reflection from the station itself. But when he looked again, the object remained, and worse, it seemed to be moving with purpose. Mission Control, this is ISS. I'm tracking an unidentified object near lunar orbit. Can you confirm? Reed spoke into his communicator, keeping his voice level despite the growing unease in his stomach. After a moment of silence, Houston responded, ISS, we have no scheduled missions in that sector. Our systems are picking up something. Stand by. Reed switched to the station's external cameras, zooming in as far as the equipment allowed. The object wasn't alone. There were 5 similar objects, all moving in formation. Houston, we have multiple objects. Definitely not natural and not ours. These things are huge and moving too precisely to be debris. 12,000 miles away, in underground facilities across Earth, military analysts scrambled to make sense of the sudden appearance of unknown craft in our solar system. Emergency meetings were called in Washington, Moscow, Beijing, and other capitals as grainy images from deep space telescopes confirmed what Reed had spotted. They weren't alone in the universe anymore. The Varon Collective had been watching Earth for decades. Their long-range scans had categorized humans as a Type 1 pre-integration species, intelligent enough to have basic technology, but lacking the advancements needed for galactic citizenship. More importantly to the Collective's High Commander Drell, humans appeared to lack meaningful defense capabilities beyond their planet's atmosphere. The Blue World has abundant resources and habitable landmass. Drell explained to his officers aboard the command vessel. His gray skin reflected the blue light of the holographic Earth spinning before them. Their technology is primitive. They've barely touched their moon and sent a few simple machines to nearby planets. His second-in-command, Officer Locks, studied the reports. They have nuclear weapons. Drell made a dismissive gesture with one of his 4 arms. Crude devices that would destroy what we want to harvest. They have no orbital defense systems, no energy weapons, and their few space stations are fragile habitats rather than military outposts. Still, High Commander, protocol suggests. Protocol, it is for equals, Drell interrupted. We've conquered 32 worlds, and none have ever surprised us. This will be no different. The reconnaissance fleet of the Varon Collective consisted of 7 vessels, each nearly a mile long and bristling with weapons capable of glassing entire continents. They had emerged from what humans would later learn was a form of faster-than-light travel, appearing suddenly in the shadow of Earth's moon. Within hours of Reed's initial sighting, amateur astronomers around the world began posting images online. The strange ships were visible through powerful telescopes, triggering worldwide speculation and panic. Government officials attempted to control the narrative, but in the age of instant global communication, the truth spread faster than any official statement. We need to approach with caution, warned General Alice Parker in the Pentagon's emergency meeting. If these are intelligent beings with the technology to cross interstellar space, they're far beyond our current military capabilities. Or so they might think, replied Director Marcus Wilson, pushing a folder marked Classified across the table. Project Aegis has been operational for 3 years now. Perhaps it's time we revealed what we've been hiding. The president looked at the folder with hesitation. That was meant as a last resort. And what would you call this, sir? Wilson asked, gesturing to the screens showing the alien vessels now moving toward Earth. In space, the ISS had become an impromptu observation post. Reed and his crew documented everything as the alien ships slowly approached Earth's orbit. Scientists and military personnel across the planet analyzed every pixel of data, trying to understand the visitors' intentions. They're positioning themselves above major population centers, Reed reported. Beijing, New York, Moscow, London, Tokyo. They're taking up strategic positions. The world held its breath as the alien vessels hung in the sky, visible now even to the naked eye as bright stars that didn't move with the night sky. 3 days after their arrival, they made contact. Every screen on Earth, televisions, computers, phones, even digital billboards, suddenly displayed the same image. A tall, four-armed being with gray skin and large, lidless eyes. People of Earth. The translation appeared as subtitles beneath the alien's moving mouth. I am High Commander Drell of the Varon Collective. Your world has been selected for integration into our empire. Your resources and territory will serve the greater good of advanced civilizations across the galaxy. The message continued, explaining that resistance would be pointless and destructive, but cooperation would mean humans could survive as a servant species. The Varon promised limited autonomy for those who accepted their rule immediately. The world's leaders gathered in an emergency United Nations session. While they debated responses, the Varon demonstrated their power. One of their smaller vessels approached an uninhabited research outpost on Mars and, with a single energy blast, reduced it to molten slag. That was just 1% of our weapons capability. Drell's next message explained. You have 24 Earth hours to submit. Each government must transmit acceptance of our terms, or we will begin removing your population centers. Unknown to the Varon, however, humanity had not been as defenseless as they believed. Years earlier, unusual signals from deep space had prompted a secret global initiative. The world's major powers, setting aside their differences in the face of potential existential threat, had quietly developed defensive technologies beyond what was publicly known. Project Aegis was hidden in plain sight, disguised as satellite launches, space station modules, and even commercial space ventures. In reality, Earth had quietly built a defensive grid around the planet, with weapons reverse-engineered from a crashed alien craft discovered decades earlier. All Aegis stations, this is command. Begin power-up sequences, but remain in stealth mode. General Parker ordered from the hidden command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. We want full capability when we need it, but no energy signatures they can detect yet. Around the world, political leaders made a show of desperate emergency meetings, appearing to argue about whether to surrender. Meanwhile, military forces moved into position, and the orbital platforms of Project Aegis silently prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. They think we're weak, Reed observed from the ISS, watching as smaller Varon craft began to descend toward Earth's atmosphere in what appeared to be the beginning of an occupation. They have no idea what's waiting for them. The Varon approached with the confidence of experienced conquerors, having never faced serious resistance in their long history of expansion. Their scans showed only primitive defenses and a panicking population. High Commander Drell was already planning how to divide Earth's resources among the Collective's member worlds. As the first Varon ships entered Earth's atmosphere, Drell received a transmission from Earth, not the surrender he expected, but a simple message from General Parker. Perhaps you should have scanned deeper. Confusion flickered across High Commander Drell's face as he read the cryptic message. He turned to Officer Locks, who was monitoring the invasion fleet's entry into Earth's atmosphere. What did they mean by scan deeper? Drell demanded. Before Locks could answer, alarms blared across the command ship. The tactical display showed 3 of their smaller vessels suddenly vanishing from the formation. High Commander, we've lost contact with the advance team, shouted the communications officer. Drell rushed to the viewport in time to see brilliant blue beams of energy shooting upward from Earth's surface. More alarming were the objects suddenly appearing in orbit around the planet. Platforms that had somehow remained invisible to Varon scanners were now powering up, revealing weapons systems that should have been centuries beyond human capability. Impossible, Drell whispered. Their technology was primitive. We watched them for years. Officer Locke studied the readings with growing horror. High Commander, These weapons' signatures, they're similar to our own technology. On Earth, General Alice Parker stood in the underground command center of Project Aegis, watching as the orbital defense grid came fully online. Surrounding her, military personnel from a dozen nations worked in perfect coordination, the result of years of secret drills and preparation. All Aegis platforms report operational status, announced Colonel Ben Miller, the tactical officer. First wave of alien craft have been neutralized. Parker nodded grimly. Begin Phase 2. Launch the interceptors. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, enormous bay doors opened in what had appeared to be an ordinary seafloor mining operation. From the underwater base rose 20 sleek spacecraft, their hulls gleaming with a material that absorbed rather than reflected light. Similar launches occurred from hidden facilities in the Sahara Desert, the Amazon Basin, and beneath the Antarctic ice. These were humanity's secret weapons, vessels built using technology derived from a crashed alien ship found in 1947. For decades, the world's governments had quietly reverse-engineered what they found, keeping the advances hidden from public view, and more importantly, from any watching eyes in space. Lieutenant Maria Torres piloted the lead interceptor, call sign Phoenix 1. As her craft broke through Earth's atmosphere, she felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. Years of training in simulators couldn't fully prepare her for actual combat against an alien species, but she was humanity's best pilot. Phoenix Squadron, form up and prepare to engage, she ordered. Remember your training. Their ships are powerful but slow to maneuver. Use that against them. The human interceptors moved with shocking agility, darting between the larger Varon vessels and firing precisely at vulnerable points that shouldn't have been known to humans. Each shot found its mark with devastating effect. Aboard his command ship, Drell watched in mounting horror as Earth's hidden defenses tore through his invasion force. The Varon had conquered dozens of worlds, but none had ever responded with such unexpected force. How is this possible? He demanded. Their defensive capabilities were supposed to be minimal. Locks frantically analyzed the incoming data. High Commander, these humans, they're using modified versions of collective technology. The energy signatures are unmistakable. That's impossible. We've never lost a ship in this sector. There's more, Locks continued, voice shaking. Our long-range scanners are detecting activity from their moon. They appear to have a fully operational base there that we somehow missed. Indeed, from the far side of the moon, additional human vessels were emerging from hidden hangars built into the lunar surface. The secret moon base, constructed under the guise of scientific research missions, now revealed its true purpose as a military outpost. Director Marcus Wilson stood in the Lunar Command Center, watching as Earth's defenders pushed back against the alien aggressors. The moon base had been his idea, a fallback position if Earth itself were overrun. Now it served as a perfect flanking position. Launch the EMP missiles, he ordered. Let's see how their shields handle a targeted electromagnetic pulse. The missiles streaked toward the Varon fleet, detonating in brilliant blue flashes that temporarily disrupted the alien shields and communication systems. In that moment of vulnerability, Earth's interceptors struck with precise, devastating attacks. High Commander, we must retreat and regroup, Locks urged as another explosion rocked their vessel. We came prepared for primitive resistance, not this level of counterattack. Drell's pride warred with his survival instinct. The collective had never retreated, never failed in an invasion. But as he watched half his fleet disabled or destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist, he made the difficult choice. All vessels, emergency withdrawal. Return to safe distance beyond their moon's orbit. The surviving Varon ships broke away, engines straining as they fled Earth's orbit. Human interceptors pursued, harrying the retreating invaders and preventing them from regrouping properly. In the Pentagon's war room, world leaders watched the battle unfold via secure feeds from space. The president turned to General Parker with a mixture of awe and concern. They're retreating, but they'll be back with reinforcements. How long can we hold them off? Parker's expression remained confident. Longer than they expect, sir. We haven't revealed all our capabilities yet. And now we have what we needed most, captured Varon technology to study. Indeed, several damaged alien vessels had been disabled rather than destroyed, and special teams were already moving to secure them. Each captured ship would provide valuable intelligence and potentially more technological advances. Aboard the retreating command vessel, Drell called an emergency council with his surviving officers. The ship's holographic display showed the extent of their losses. Nearly 40% of their invasion force destroyed or captured in less than 2 hours. Our intelligence was catastrophically wrong, Drell admitted. These humans have technology that should be impossible for them to possess. Could another spacefaring race have armed them? Suggested one officer. Locke shook his head. The design modifications are unique, not matching any known species. They've developed this themselves and kept it hidden. The question is how, and for how long. As the Varon retreated to the outer edges of Earth's solar system, humanity celebrated its first victory against an alien invader. But military leaders knew this was just the beginning. The Varon would return with greater numbers and better preparation. Lieutenant Torres landed her interceptor at the secret base in Nevada. As ground crews swarmed around the vessel, checking for damage, she removed her helmet and looked up at the sky. They thought we'd be easy, she told the technician helping her from the cockpit. They thought we were weak. They won't make that mistake again, the technician replied. Good, Torres said with a grim smile. Next time we'll be ready for a real fight. In space, Captain James Reed watched from the ISS as the remaining alien ships retreated. The station had been deliberately spared in the attack, likely because the Varon considered it insignificant. That mistake had allowed Reed and his crew to gather crucial data throughout the battle. Houston, sending you detailed scans of their retreat vectors, Reed reported. Looks like they're regrouping near Jupiter's orbit. Back in the hidden command center, General Parker studied the incoming data and turned to Director Wilson. Activate Phase 3, she ordered. It's time to show them we can do more than just defend our home. Wilson nodded and entered his authorization code into the system. Throughout the solar system, hidden propulsion arrays that had been disguised as scientific instruments came online. Humanity had been preparing not just to defend Earth, but to take the fight beyond their own world. As night fell across Earth, people looked up at the stars with new understanding. They were not alone in the universe, and now the universe knew they were not defenseless. The Varon had thought humans were weak. Their next encounter would prove just how wrong they had been. High Commander Drell sent an urgent message to the Varon homeworld, requesting reinforcements. For the first time in his career, he included a warning that would shock the collective's leadership. Exercise extreme caution. The humans are far more dangerous than we believed. The dark expanse of space near Jupiter's orbit seemed peaceful, but the remnants of the Varon fleet hid in the shadow of the gas giant, licking their wounds. High Commander Drell paced the bridge of his command ship, 4 arms clasped behind his back as he reviewed the disastrous first encounter with Earth's defenses. The collective has never suffered such losses in an initial engagement, he muttered, stopping to study the damage reports on a holographic display. Half his fleet was destroyed or captured, and remaining ships needed repairs. Officer Locke approached cautiously. High Commander, we've received word from Homeworld. Reinforcements are on the way, but they won't arrive for 3 of their Earth days. Drell's large eyes blinked slowly. 3 days during which these humans could be studying our technology, learning our weaknesses. There's more, Locke added hesitantly. Our long-range scanners have detected movement from Earth. They're launching ships. Defensive positioning around their planet. No, High Commander. They appear to be heading toward us. Drell's gray skin paled. The humans weren't just defending. They were counterattacking. On Earth, Admiral Thomas West stood before a panel of world leaders in the underground command center. A decorated naval officer with 30 years of service, West had been chosen to lead humanity's first interstellar military operation. The Varon are regrouping, but they're vulnerable, he explained, pointing to tactical displays showing the alien positions. Our captured ships have given us crucial intelligence about their communication systems and shield frequencies. We have a window of opportunity to strike before their reinforcements arrive. Is this wise? Asked the Russian president. Perhaps we should focus on strengthening our defenses instead of pursuing them. West shook his head firmly. History has taught us that merely defending never wins wars. The Varon need to understand that attacking Earth has consequences. More importantly, we need to capture their faster-than-light technology if we're going to have any chance against their main fleet. After brief deliberation, the Council gave unanimous approval. Operation Counterstrike was greenlit. Lieutenant Maria Torres found herself promoted to squadron leader overnight. Her skill in the first battle had marked her as one of Earth's finest pilots, and now she would lead the assault team tasked with capturing a Varon command vessel. Our primary target is their communication hub, she briefed her pilots as they prepared to launch. Without it, they can't coordinate with their homeworld or incoming reinforcements. Team Alpha will create a diversion, while we slip in and dock with their command ship. What if they've adapted to our tactics? Asked one of her pilots, a young lieutenant named Raj. Torres smiled grimly. Then we adapt faster. Remember, they've conquered dozens of worlds, but they've never faced humans before. That's our advantage. They don't understand how quickly we can change our approach. Earth's counterattack fleet launched under cover of darkness. 40 advanced spacecraft built with reverse-engineered alien technology, accompanied by 200 conventional fighters modified with new weapon systems. Admiral West commanded from the flagship Defender, a massive vessel hidden inside an asteroid for the past 2 years. As they approached Jupiter, the human fleet split into 3 battle groups, executing a pincer movement designed to cut off the Varon's escape routes. The tactic was ancient, first employed by Hannibal against the Romans, but it would be new to the aliens. They're coming in from multiple vectors, reported a Varon sensor officer, panic evident in his voice. Their formation doesn't match any standard approach pattern. Drell studied the incoming fleet with growing concern. They're using primitive encirclement tactics, but with advanced technology. Fascinating and disturbing. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their largest vessels first. We may not have our full strength, but we still outgun them. The space around Jupiter erupted in a light show of weapons fire. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, while missile trails created brief, silent streaks against the black canvas of space. The human ships moved in unpredictable patterns, making them difficult targets despite the Varon's superior targeting systems. On the Defender's bridge, Admiral West watched the battle unfold with intense concentration. Execute Phase 2, he ordered when the Varon focused their fire on his decoy ships. Throughout the battlefield, small, stealthy craft suddenly powered up and rushed toward the Varon vessels. These were boarding parties, led by Torres and other elite pilots, aiming to capture rather than destroy key enemy ships. Torres guided her craft toward the Varon command vessel, dodging debris and weapons fire. Approaching target, she reported. Preparing electromagnetic pulse. Her ship released a specialized EMP device that attached to the Varon vessel's hull. When it detonated, it created a localized field that temporarily disabled the ship's systems without affecting her own craft. We have a window. Go, 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 she commanded. Torres and her team docked with the disabled Varon ship and cut through the hull using tools designed based on captured alien technology. They entered in environment suits, weapons ready, moving quickly through the alien corridors. The Varon crew, disoriented by the power fluctuations, offered scattered resistance. Torres led her team straight toward the bridge, following schematics derived from studying the captured vessels from the first battle. On the command bridge, Drell realized too late what was happening. They're inside the ship. Seal the command center. Before the doors could close, explosive charges blew them open, and Taurus's team stormed in, firing stunning weapons specifically calibrated for Varon physiology. Bridge secured, Taurus reported over her comm as Drell and his officers collapsed, temporarily paralyzed. Beginning data extraction and ship capture procedures. Across the battlefield, similar scenarios played out as human forces captured key Varon vessels. Others were destroyed when capture wasn't possible, their debris creating a makeshift minefield that further complicated the aliens' defensive efforts. "We've lost contact with the command ship," Lox informed the captain of another Varon vessel. "Orders." The captain hesitated, unused to operating without central command. The Varon military structure relied heavily on hierarchy, and initiative was not encouraged. This crucial delay gave the human forces additional time to press their advantage. Admiral West watched with satisfaction as the tide of battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. "They fight as individuals, not as a cohesive force," he observed. "When we disrupt their command structure, they become disorganized." Within 6 hours, the remaining Varon ships attempted to retreat, engaging their faster-than-light drives. Some escaped, but many were disabled before they could activate their engines. The battle for Jupiter's orbit ended with a decisive human victory. Taurus stood over the captured Drell, who was regaining movement as the stun effects wore off. The Varon commander looked up at the human with a mixture of fear and confusion. "How?" he asked simply. "Your world showed no signs of such technology or military capability." Taurus removed her helmet, revealing a determined face with eyes hardened by battle. "You watched us but didn't understand us. Humans have been preparing for threats from beyond our world for generations. We hide our strengths until they're needed." Drell considered this. A species that conceals its capabilities. The collective has never encountered such a strategy. "There's a lot about humans you don't know," Taurus replied, "but you're going to learn." As prisoners were secured and captured vessels prepared for transport back to Earth, Admiral West sent a message to the Varon homeworld, using their own communication technology. The message was simple but powerful. "Your invasion force has been defeated. Any further aggression toward Earth will be met with increasingly severe consequences. We are prepared to discuss peace, but only as equals." In the command center on Earth, world leaders watched the aftermath of humanity's first interstellar victory. General Parker turned to the president with a grim smile. "The captured ships will accelerate our technology development by decades. Their faster-than-light drives alone will transform our capabilities." "And the prisoners?" asked the president. "They'll help us understand who we're dealing with," Parker replied. "The Varon Collective needs to understand that humans aren't just another species to be conquered. We're something they've never faced before." As night fell on Earth, people who had watched the battle through telescopes and live feeds from space celebrated. Humanity had not only defended their home, but had taken the fight to the enemy. The message was clear. Earth would not be an easy conquest. And somewhere in deep space, the Varon reinforcements continued their journey, unaware that they were heading toward an enemy far more dangerous than they had been led to believe. Red lights flashed across the bridge of the Defender as Admiral West studied the holographic display showing the approaching Varon reinforcements. The newly arrived alien armada dwarfed the force they had defeated 3 days earlier. 5 massive command ships surrounded by dozens of smaller but still deadly vessels. "They've adapted their shields based on our previous attacks," reported the tactical officer. "Scans show they've modified their frequencies to resist our weapons." West nodded, unsurprised. "And we've adapted as well. Deployed the new countermeasures." Throughout Earth's fleet, now bolstered by the captured and repurposed Varon ships, engineers made final adjustments to weapon systems. In just 3 days, human scientists had studied the alien technology and found new weaknesses to exploit, a pace of innovation that had stunned the captured Varon officers. High Commander Drell, now a prisoner aboard the Defender, watched these preparations from his containment cell with growing unease. "Your species moves too quickly," he told Lieutenant Taurus during her interrogation session. The Collective's technological advances typically take cycles to implement. You've done it in days. Torres smiled. Necessity and survival are powerful motivators. Commander, you threatened our home. The second battle began in the shadow of Mars. The Varon reinforcements, commanded by Fleet Lord Mex, approached with caution, having received the fragmented distress calls from Drell's defeated forces. Engage at maximum range, Mex ordered. Do not allow them to get close enough for boarding actions. The Varon opened fire first, their energy weapons lighting up space with brilliant purple beams that sliced toward the human fleet. But instead of taking evasive action, the Earth vessels deployed their newest defense, reflective shield technology reverse-engineered from the captured ships, but modified in ways the Varon had never considered. The beams struck the shields and bounced back toward their origin points, causing several Varon ships to take damage from their own weapons. Confusion erupted across the alien fleet as commanders tried to understand what had happened. Impossible, Mex exclaimed. They've weaponized our own shield technology against us. Admiral West seized the moment of disorder. All ships, execute Operation Hammerfall. Earth's fleet suddenly separated into 5 distinct battle groups, each targeting a specific section of the Varon formation. It was a classic divide-and-conquer strategy, but implemented with technology that allowed for perfect coordination. The human ships moved with a synchronization that seemed almost organic, as if they were parts of a single entity rather than individual vessels. On captured Varon ships, now piloted by human crews, Torres led a specialized strike team aimed directly at the alien flagship. Her vessels appeared to be retreating Varon ships from the previous battle, broadcasting distress signals on Varon frequencies. They're letting us through, Torres reported as her small fleet approached the massive alien command ship. The ruse is working. Inside the captured vessels, human soldiers prepared for boarding action. They had studied Varon physiology and fighting techniques from the prisoners, gaining insights into how to combat the 4-armed aliens in close quarters. Fleet Lord Mex, focused on the main battle, failed to recognize the trap until too late. Torres's ships docked with his flagship, appearing to seek refuge from the human attack. When the airlocks opened, however, Earth's soldiers poured in rather than retreating Varon troops. We have multiple hull breaches, shouted Mex's security officer. Unknown forces have boarded on decks 3 through 7. Mex turned to his communication officer in shock. How did they get through our defenses? Signal all ships. We have infiltrators. But the warning came too late. Torres's team fought their way through the flagship with brutal efficiency, using stun weapons when possible to take prisoners, but lethal force when necessary. Their objective wasn't just capture, but also intelligence. The flagship's databanks contained information about the entire Varon Collective. In the main battle, the human fleet executed maneuvers that confused and disoriented the Varon commanders. Earth ships would appear to retreat, drawing Varon vessels into pursuit, only to lead them into devastating crossfire from hidden positions. Other human vessels used Mars itself as cover, emerging from behind the planet to strike, and then disappearing again before the aliens could retaliate effectively. Their tactics make no sense, complained one Varon officer. They sacrifice optimal firing positions for unpredictable movement patterns. An older Varon commander understood better. They're fighting like predators, not soldiers. They're hunting us. This insight came too late for many Varon ships. The battle that had begun with confident aliens holding superior numbers and firepower had transformed into a chaotic rout within hours. The human adaptability that Drell had warned about proved even more formidable than the Collective had feared. On the Defender, West received the message he'd been waiting for. Admiral, Lieutenant Torres reports the Varon flagship is secured. They've captured Fleet Lord Mex and accessed their central database. West allowed himself a brief smile. Begin Phase 3. Download everything they have on other species they've conquered or contacted. The intelligence gathered from the Varon database would prove more valuable than all the captured technology. It revealed the locations of dozens of worlds under Varon control, star charts covering a significant portion of the galaxy, and details about other spacefaring civilizations the collective had encountered or subjected. Most importantly, it showed that the Varon weren't invincible. They had been defeated before, though rarely, and had weaknesses that could be exploited. As the battle concluded with the surrender or destruction of most of the reinforcement fleet, Admiral West turned to Drell, who had been brought to the bridge to witness his civilization's defeat. "Your people have a choice to make," West told the captured commander. "This can end here, or it can escalate. But know this, if you send more ships, we'll be stronger still. We learn from every encounter." Drell looked at the tactical display, showing the devastating defeat of a fleet twice the size of the human forces. "You don't understand what you've done," he said quietly. "The collective will see you as an existential threat now. They'll commit everything to eliminating you." "Then they'll fail," West replied simply. "Because unlike your collective, we don't fight to conquer. We fight to survive." There's a difference. In the days that followed, human scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to integrate the newly captured technology. The faster-than-light drives were of particular interest, offering humanity the ability to reach distant stars in reasonable timeframes. More important were the star maps showing the locations of planets the Varon had conquered. West convened a special council with Earth's leaders to discuss their next steps. "We have an opportunity here," he explained, highlighting several nearby star systems on the holographic display. "The Varon have subjugated these civilizations. Some have been under their control for centuries. If we liberate them, we could gain valuable allies against the collective." The Chinese president leaned forward. "You're suggesting we take the offensive beyond our solar system. Is that wise when we've barely secured our own defense?" West nodded to Director Wilson, who activated another display showing projections based on the Varon database. "If we wait for them to regroup, they'll return with an overwhelming force. Their home fleet is massive. But if we disrupt their empire by freeing these subjugated worlds, we create multiple fronts they must defend." After lengthy debate, the decision was made. Humanity would venture beyond their solar system, not just to defend Earth, but to liberate others from Varon control. The message they would send to the galaxy was clear. The era of Varon dominance was ending. Torres found herself promoted again, this time to captain of the Liberator, a hybrid vessel combining human innovation with Varon technology. Her mission would take her to Proxima Centauri, where a civilization had been under Varon control for 3 generations. As she prepared her ship for humanity's first intentional journey to another star, Torres visited Drell one last time. "Why are you doing this?" the Varon asked. "Your world is safe for now. Why risk everything by challenging the collective further?" Torres studied him for a moment. "Because that's what humans do. We don't just protect our own. We stand up for others who can't defend themselves. You thought we were weak because we hadn't spread across the stars yet, but we were just waiting for the right reason to leave home." As the newly formed Liberation Fleet prepared to depart Earth's orbit, Admiral West sent a message to the Varon homeworld. It contained only the locations of their recently defeated fleets and 7 words. "This is just the beginning. Choose wisely." The Grand Hall of the Varon Collective's High Council glowed with tense energy as 11 of the most powerful beings in their empire gathered in emergency session. Massive holographic displays showed the unthinkable, the systematic dismantling of their control over 3 star systems in less than 2 months. Supreme Commander Cole, leader of all Varon military forces, paced before the council. His gray skin had paled with stress, and all 4 of his arms trembled slightly as he gestured to the displays. "The humans move with unprecedented speed," he reported, voice strained. "They arrived at Proxima Centauri 6 weeks ago. Within days, they had destroyed our orbital command stations and made contact with the subjugated Proximans. And the Proximans joined them," added Counselor Vren with disbelief. "A species that has served us loyally for generations." Cole nodded grimly. The humans offered them freedom and protection. They shared technology with them. Our technology, captured from our vessels. Now Proximan ships fight alongside the human fleet. The council chamber erupted in angry murmurs. The Varon had built their empire on a simple principle. Conquered species remained conquered. The idea of liberation was not merely foreign to them. It was existentially threatening to their entire civilization. The same pattern has repeated at Ta Ceti and Bernard Star. Cole continued when the noise subsided. The humans liberate a world, share technology, recruit them to their cause, and move to the next target. Their fleet grows with each victory. High Elder Zix, the oldest and most respected council member, spoke in a voice weathered by centuries. How many worlds have they contacted? 7 so far. But they possess our complete star charts. They know the location of every world in our empire. Silence fell over the council as the implications sank in. For millennia, the Varon had expanded unchallenged, bringing planet after planet under their control. Now, in mere months, humans were unraveling what had taken generations to build. "We must commit the home fleet," declared one counselor. "Crush them with overwhelming force." Cole's expression darkened. "The home fleet has already engaged them at Ta Ceti. We lost 40% of our capital ships." He paused, seeming almost reluctant to continue. "Their Admiral West sends the same message after each victory. I believe you should hear it." He activated a communication device, and a human voice filled the chamber. "The liberation of subjugated worlds will continue until the Varon Collective acknowledges the sovereignty of Earth and all other free planets. Each aggressive action will be met with proportional response. However, we remain open to diplomatic solutions that respect the freedom of all species." "They speak of diplomacy while attacking our empire," shouted a younger counselor. Elder Zix raised a hand for silence. "They attack our military installations but spare civilian populations. They offer our subject worlds choice rather than imposing their own rule. This is not conquest as we understand it." "It is worse," Cole admitted. "It is the unraveling of everything we have built." Light years away, Admiral Thomas West stood on the bridge of the flagship Defender, now the center of a multi-species fleet that included vessels from Earth, Proxima Centauri, Ta Ceti, and 3 other formerly subjugated worlds. The fleet had grown from 40 ships to over 200, with more joining weekly as news of liberation spread. "Admiral, we'd received another transmission from the Varon homeworld," his communications officer reported. "They're requesting a ceasefire and proposing a diplomatic meeting." West exchanged glances with Captain Maria Torres, recently returned from leading the successful liberation of Bernard Star. "Are we sure it's not a trap?" she asked. "Their main fleet is in disarray," West replied. "Intelligence suggests they're genuinely afraid, not just of us, but of uprisings on worlds we haven't even reached yet. Word is spreading faster than our ships can travel." The coalition fleet had established a temporary base in the Ta Ceti system, where representatives from liberated planets could coordinate their efforts. Among them was Elix, a Proximan whose blue-skinned species had lived under Varon control for 3 generations. "My people were scientists before the Varon came," Elix explained during the council session discussing the ceasefire request. "They forced us to use our knowledge to improve their weapons and ships. Now we can finally develop technology to help rather than harm." Similar stories came from other liberated species. The Scythians, natural engineers whose innovations had been exploited, the Bernardians, whose unique agricultural techniques had fed the Varon Empire while their own people went hungry, the Trappists, whose natural talent for navigation had been pressed into service mapping new conquests. All had suffered under Varon rule, and all had enthusiastically joined the human-led liberation effort. What had begun as Earth's defense had transformed into a galactic freedom movement. "We should accept their diplomatic overture," West finally decided. "But we negotiate as a coalition, not just as humans. Every liberated world gets a seat at the table." The diplomatic meeting was set for neutral space, an uninhabited system halfway between Earth and the Varon homeworld. The Collective sent 3 massive diplomatic vessels, escorted by a token military force. The Coalition matched their numbers exactly. On the main diplomatic vessel, West led a delegation that included representatives from Earth and 6 liberated worlds. Torres remained in command of the fleet, watchful for any sign of Varon treachery. The meeting chamber was prepared with atmospheric adjustments for all species present, a gesture that surprised the Varon, who had never bothered accommodating the comfort of other species during negotiations. High Elder Zix led the Varon delegation, his ancient eyes studying the diverse group of beings seated across from him. "This is unprecedented," he began. "The Collective has never negotiated with former subjects." "Former is the operative word," West replied calmly. "These are representatives of sovereign worlds now, speaking with their own voices." Zix nodded slowly. "We have reviewed your victories, your tactics, your treatment of conquered Varon forces. You could have destroyed us, yet you consistently offer alternatives. Because destruction isn't our goal," explained Elix, the Proximan representative. "Freedom is." The negotiations lasted 7 Earth days. The Varon, accustomed to dictating terms rather than compromising, struggled with the concept of mutual agreement. Yet the alternative, continued conflict with a coalition that grew stronger with each engagement, was unacceptable. The resulting treaty transformed the galaxy. The Varon Collective agreed to recognize the independence of all worlds liberated by the coalition. They would withdraw military forces from 20 additional border worlds, creating a buffer zone between their remaining territory and free space. Most surprisingly, they agreed to internal reforms, gradual but meaningful changes to their relationship with the dozen worlds still under their control, with oversight from a coalition observation team. "You understand this changes everything for us," Zix told West privately after the final document was signed. "Our society has been built on expansion and control for millennia." West nodded. "Change or extinction. Those were your options. You chose wisely." "And what of Earth?" Zix asked. "Your world was unknown to the galaxy months ago. Now you lead a coalition of planets. What are your ambitions?" West smiled slightly. "To ensure no species faces what you tried to do to us. We didn't want galactic prominence. Elder Zix, you forced it upon us when you mistook our isolation for weakness." As news of the treaty spread across formerly Varon-controlled space, celebrations erupted on dozens of worlds. Species that had never known freedom, or had forgotten it generations ago, now faced the exhilarating prospect of self-determination. Back on Earth, crowds gathered in major cities to watch the treaty signing, broadcast across the planet. What had begun as a desperate defense of their home had evolved into humanity's introduction to the broader galactic community, not as conquerors like the Varon, but as liberators. In the Oval Office, the President watched the ceremony with General Parker and Director Wilson, the military leaders who had overseen Project Aegis and humanity's first steps into interstellar war and peace. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you started building our secret defenses?" the President asked. Parker shook her head. "We just wanted to protect Earth. The rest happened because humans can't see suffering without wanting to end it." On the bridge of the Defender, preparing to lead the fleet home to Earth, Admiral West found Lieutenant, now Captain, Torres staring out at the stars. "Thinking about what's next?" he asked. She nodded. The Varon database showed hundreds of inhabited worlds beyond their territory, some with technology like ours, some more advanced, some still developing. An entire galaxy waiting to be explored. Explored, West emphasized, not conquered. "That's the difference, isn't it?" Torres replied. "The Varon couldn't understand why we fought so hard to defend not just ourselves but others too. They thought strength meant domination. And we showed them otherwise," West said, looking out at the Coalition fleet, ships of different designs, crewed by beings of different species, all united by a common cause that had begun when aliens thought humans were weak. They won't make that mistake again, Torres said with quiet certainty. None of them will. As the fleet prepared for the journey back to Earth, messages arrived from newly freed worlds across former Varon space. They weren't requesting help or protection. They were asking to join the coalition, not as subjects, but as equals in a new galactic community with humanity at its heart. The aliens had thought humans were weak. Now they looked to Earth for leadership in a galaxy transformed by the power of freedom.